And then, okay, we're live. All right, awesome. Go ahead and have a seat. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Tia Talks this evening. I have with me a wonderful lady who I've invited to share her story with us, and also a little bit about Mental Health Awareness Month, because it is something that we're celebrating, or actually not celebrating, but bringing awareness to at Tia Talks. This month we are concentrating on bringing awareness to entrepreneurship, mental health awareness, and also it is Veterans Month. So those are our focuses for this month. So you can expect to see more coming your way. Just for those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Patricia Contreras. After spending 30 years in corporate America, I found that it was time to retire, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and take my experience and the knowledge that I have and go ahead and help others better understand products and information in the same financial sector that I myself did not understand. And so now my business, Tia Pam Financial Life and Debt Solution Company, is dedicated to helping others better understand the financial protection products that are out there for them to help embellish their goals, whether it is in life or after life, leave a legacy for their families. Well, without further ado, I appreciate you all tuning in today to help us welcome Ms. Sylvia Luna with the Art of Healing Ministries. Sorry. Yes, Sylvia, welcome this evening. I appreciate you welcoming us to your home and sharing with us this evening. For those of you all that maybe haven't met Sylvia, she's going to go ahead and share a little bit about who she is, and then we'll go into the interview. Sylvia, go ahead and let us know a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, it's been a long time that I've been in front of a live audience in this platform. But for those of you who don't know me, I've been married 50 years. I just celebrated my 50th anniversary. I have 3 married children and I have 6 grandchildren. And that the love of my life, that's my first passion. My second passion is I recently retired, so I'm excited about that in February.
Awesome.
And after retiring, I had been working as a helping professional in the mental health and substance abuse world. I've been there for 35 years. And in that path, I've been able to experience and learn so many different things, especially recognizing that there's so much pain out there. I mean, we know it, we see it, we hear it, we look at it in the movies, but sometimes when we encounter people or we're out and about, you see people, we're doing things, we're busy, especially, it's getting busier and busier now. But what we don't see is what's behind the mask, right? What's behind, who are we for real?
Right.
And so, since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm going to go ahead and talk, first of all, about mental health. So, what people get confused, and I've learned that they get confused about, is what is the difference between mental health, mental wellness, and mental illness, a mental condition. So sometimes people will kind of merge the two.
Right.
So they're like, I feel depressed, but I'm not depressed.
Right.
I feel depressed feelings, but I'm not depressed. So maybe you need to, no, I don't need to see anybody. I need to see a therapist. I need to see a psychiatrist because, because it is such a taboo subject.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons why people don't express or unmask that depression or feelings of the mental health emotional disruptions. They don't unmask that or share that because that's the first thing they're going to say. Oh, well, something's wrong with you. You're taking medication. So when we're talking about mental health conditions, this is the way it works. You go to a doctor and you tell the doctor, I have this symptom, this symptom, this symptom. The doctor is not a magical wizard. The doctor has learned it from books, right? In there, because they diagnose and they develop, this is an illness, this is an illness, this is an illness because of research. They've said, this is. So when you present this symptoms, this is going to be the illness they're going to diagnose you with, right? And then as a doctor experiences more in that profession, that's why they're specialists, they see the same thing and they master that. Okay, this could be this could be this. That's a physical ailment, right?
So you've been in the industry for 35 years?
Yes.
And in the same sector of
yes, mental health and substance abuse.
Oh, okay.
So, and then different population, meaning different people that are hurting. So going back to that, so you have, when it comes to mental illness or mental health condition, because that one has the negative stigma.
The mental health condition?
Yes. In other words, if I have schizophrenia, if I have bipolar, if I have PTSD, if I have depression, if a psychiatrist or someone has diagnosed or even wants to put someone in that category, there's such a negative stigma that I don't want that. Yeah. I don't want to be known as that. But what I want you to see is that it is no difference. So as a psychotherapist myself, we get trained to look at behavior. See, unfortunately, because of mental health conditions, you can't put it under a microscope. Like you can't lab work. Right. You can't put it under, so it strictly goes on behaviors, patterns, and so forth. So that's why, for example, I've been in the field so many years. I work with battered women and I work with the men who batter. I can go and talk to a man, and because of my experience, not because I'm super wise, I can tell you this man most likely meets the profile of a batterer. I can talk to a woman who has been battered, and I can most likely, because I've been exposed to them a lot, see that. So this is why I can go to, so my training will allow me to behaviorally assess, and of course you can be wrong, just like doctors can prescribe wrong medication.
I could be telling you something because I've been to psychotherapists before that I think you want to hear.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't be able to diagnose.
Exactly. So because it's so behavior, that's why it's such a hard thing to actually diagnose. And that's one of the reasons why people do not seek that help.
I've seen that in the movie though, that's why I mentioned it.
Okay, yes. That's why they don't seek
People
mental health.
don't want help.
Well, it's not that they don't
Well,
want
they
it.
don't want to be, like you say,
Labeled, the
labeled.
stigma
Yes,
behind
yes,
The
exactly.
stigma from the cultures, I mean, those of us that are Hispanic, different cultures say, oh, está loca, you know, está loca, you're gonna go, or she's crazy, you hear that. Those are negative terms. So you can imagine if you have a disorder or you have a physical illness, and you know what's so funny? You ask somebody that has diabetes, or, oh, yeah, and it's because there's no stigma behind that, right? I mean, it's so normalized. So the stigma, that's one of the reasons why people don't seek help. Another reason is that there is a difference. There are a set of illnesses that are more severe, which would be major depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD. These are at another level that need more intervention, more treatment. So the difference is this. So going back to psychiatrists, so these doctors are trained to work with the brain.
Right.
So trained to work with behavior. That's what I do as a therapist. Okay, what's the behavior? We look at the patterns. What can we change? What can we do? So when it comes to mental health, mental illnesses, and mental health, they're separate. So mental health means just like physical health.
Right.
You have your mind, your emotions are in a healthy place. So you can work towards mental health when someone has a mental health condition. When you treat it, when you work with it, the same way like when you have a physical condition. I want you to parallel the both so that way you can see that it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. The difference is you may go to a psychiatrist or you go to a therapist to do the same thing. That's going to try to work with our thinking. Because let's go with depression. Everybody has had a depressed mood.
Isn't it just though, I'm thinking, just as someone who's not had the studies or the experience you have, isn't it just all a part of listening to your thoughts?
That's part of it. Okay, so this is what I want to distinguish.
Okay.
We all, definitely there's a mind-body connection. Meaning that your thoughts impact your emotions. So in other words, if, let's say right now, let's say Mother's Day, I'm going to give that example that recently passed. It could be the most wonderful day to many.
Yeah.
But it could be the most depressing day
Too many.
Right?
Yeah.
So two things are happening at once. Now, why is it depressing? Because the mind triggered an emotion of sadness. The mind triggered a memory that took it to sadness. You didn't say, you see how it happened automatically? You didn't, no matter how much you try, you sit there smiling while everybody's loving on their mothers, but deep down inside you have a gut, I don't have my mom. She's my hair.
Yeah.
And you feel that depressed mood, right? Okay, that's not mental illness.
No.
But that's a depressed mood. So someone that has a mental health condition is going to feel that all the time.
Okay.
It's not going to go away, no matter how they shake it. They try, they do. Because it's biological. See? So it can
biological, can you go into that?
It can mean that it's a certain parts of the brain and the
chemical
let's look at it that. I'm not
Okay.
getting that science part. It's a chemical imbalance. You're getting too much of one. I can't think of I can't.
Whatever it is.
The
It's not
chemicals.
balanced.
Okay, yeah. Some chemicals you get too much of it. Like someone that has ADHD may get it, and someone that has depressed moods. And this is why antidepressants lift and the other ones subdue. So again, it's just like any kind. Why do people take medications for diabetes? To stabilize them. You take medication, and notice that when you take the medications, doctor's trying to treat someone with diabetes, they're like, do this, and they play around until they get the right doses, right?
Right.
But when it comes to mental illness, mental health conditions, all of a sudden they don't want to do that. It's the same process. Some people say, I don't want to go because they take the medication because they're trying to think of something that was many, many years ago. Now, don't get me wrong, because it is new, meaning that mental health treatment is a new thing, meaning like 50, in other words, it hasn't been around a long time. So this is why there's still a lot being learned about. So that's
why do you think that is, right? Because of taboo?
Well, the taboo definitely, and so in other words, but again, those are separate. We could have full discussions on that. But that is why
We'll have to
the
have you back.
difference of that. So then you have that, okay, stigma, it could be so many different factors. Okay, so now let's look at trauma. Again, these are things. So for example, the brain and the body is made a certain way. That's why there's several books that talk about how trauma stays within you. The way I explain it when I teach is like this. Imagine you're being at war or you're being in prison, right? You have to always spend for your life. If you're at war and you don't know if you're going to step on a bomb, if anybody's going to show up, how do you think your body is? It's in a fight or flight. It never comes down, right? Never comes down. Same way a child, when they don't know how their father's going to come home drunk, whether they're going to beat up their mom, whether they're going to be told they're dumb, that they're no good, so they stay here. So what starts to happen with the body, because the brain is like a muscle. It develops into a certain state of mind, the emotions and all of that. The brain, all of a sudden, the body and the brain start to disconnect. They start to not know how it's even supposed to feel. It starts to get
and
used
their parents
to.
get after them.
Well, yeah.
Parents, listen.
The parents so this is what I'm saying. The point that I want to make, because I'm going to cut that because those are again like separate class, that the mind and body have a connection.
Yes.
Okay. So this is emotional wellness. Now this is what we're responsible for, emotional wellness, meaning I'm responsible to be emotionally well. So if there's a disconnect, if something's going on and I feel that I'm depressed, then because I'm aware of my feelings, I'm aware of my thoughts, it's negative, I'm around toxic people, I gotta remove myself, I'm feeling this. So if I have awareness, then I take action, right? But if I don't have awareness,
you have tools. When you become aware, you get tools.
Exactly,
and then you learn how to use them.
but if I have no idea, if I'm around people, let's say for example, I was talking to someone earlier, I said, if you are raised in a home where there's nothing but dysfunction, meaning that the home's not functioning, then, and you've never seen normal or never seen healthy,
that's normal to you, right?
that for them to get out, it's not that easy thing. So, but going back again to the mental illness, all it means is that there is something taking place with you at a level where it's interfering with your relationships, it's interfering with your day-to-day function, it's interfering with your ability maybe to work, your mood swings are so drastic, it's impacting, like I said, your relationships, your work, you're not able to fully function, then there needs to be a lot more intervention than you think. Now, if you are emotionally going through a state of depression and all that without a diagnosis, because a diagnosis, you have to have a certain amount of period, like with depression, it has to be over 2 weeks, a certain amount. And then there's different types of diagnosis. So it's such a broad term. But all I need you to know is that if you feel that you're emotionally not well, something's wrong. Okay? So I would just.
But what about you've got those people that go through grief, and then they continue being depressed, and years go by. Is that just like regular depression?
Well, so I want you. This is why, again, treatment for mental health or wellness is so complex, because there's so many factors.
So it could be more, but it wasn't discovered.
It could be more. So it could be a person that really has a diagnosis of depression, or a person that maybe and again, this is another behavior. They maybe feel comfortable with that because maybe feel staying there, it gives some attention. It gives so many different factors. It could be. This is why we can't.
Not everyone.
That's
right?
why we can't cookie cutter. That's why we can't cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Thing. Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Because why I may be depressed, maybe some feeling of depression, or why I may get angry, or let's say anger. People that can't control the anger, have that behavior problem. Anger's another one that's a very common one. So when it comes to mental health conditions, it means that your life is really, really, you've already heard it over and over again. Something is very, very wrong. Nothing seems to come back to check. and you may need more help than you have. If your life goes up and down, like you're saying, and you have a grief process, it's a process and they haven't left it, it could be that they're maybe depressed and they're not, but it could be also that, some people, culturally, it could be a place where they want to be, so many different things. So all I can tell you is, you have to name it to tame it, right?
Right.
You gotta know what it is, because if you don't know that you have a problem, you're not gonna look for a solution.
Yeah, very true, very true.
So that's mental health and awareness. Just all I can say is, measure your thoughts, your emotions, and then there's another one as far as the ministry. You mentioned the Art of Healing Ministry. So with the Art of Healing Ministry, going back to the people that I have, very people I have worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in drug addiction. I worked with gangs. I worked with gangs.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with men released from prison.
So these gangs are like people that were released
From
to
prison.
Okay.
I did counseling with them. I worked with some young gang group, little boys, and from the prison system, from the prison.
So was this like in the beginning, the middle?
Throughout
the whole
throughout. I mean, it was different times.
So with you going through that in the beginning, what made you feel that like that was your passion?
Well, it all started like this. I couldn't find a job at McDonald's or anybody, nowhere. I wanted to go to work. And then all of a sudden, because I dropped out of school in the 8th grade, and then I dropped out of school in the 8th grade, got married, didn't go to high school, and I wanted to pursue. I said, well, okay.
In the 8th grade, you got married?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's another podcast. I'm going there right now.
I love it. Wow, that's awesome. You've been married for how many years?
50.
50?
Yeah.
Wow,
50.
amazing. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's beautiful. I've been married 40.
Yeah, see, I found
Híjole.
So,
sorry.
it's okay. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So, what was I saying? Yes, I'm moving on.
Well, because you were in the prison system.
Oh, okay.
different
Well, I
people.
wasn't in the prison system.
No, I mean, you were helping these
So
people.
this is how it started. I went to, I
You were
couldn't find
saying
a job.
you couldn't get a job.
I couldn't get a job, and my mother was working in an inpatient facility for teenagers who were trying to get clean from alcohol and drugs. I went and started working there. Then when I started working there, I met some counselors. I said, I don't think I can do that. I want to be a counselor. Then I started working in that. Then I started working with the women, the adult women. And then all of a sudden, I said, well, I'll be a social worker. I went to go get my degree. I got my bachelor's. I want to be a social worker. And I'm like, no, I'm not a case manager. I don't like it. So at that time, I think I want to be a counselor. So I went and got my license as a chemical dependency counselor. During that path, I went to work with homeless. When I was working with homeless, then I went to go to work with a men pre-release program that had gotten out of prison. Then I have some professional friends that they taught at the jail, so I was able to go teach at the jail. So then I worked at another facility where I was working with the men who batter, teaching the men who batter, which was good exposure because I got to see their perspective. Then I did my internship at the battered women's shelter where I worked with the women and I did therapy with them. Then I did psychotherapy with BetterHelp. I did therapy with Child Protective Services. I work with the homeless, and I work with people with mental illnesses and substance abuse. I worked with an all-male treatment facility. All-male treatment facility for 5 years. I was the only female, and I worked there. So I learned a lot about the men.
Their perspective, their ideas, what they were thinking.
Yeah, and I learned so many things. So that and my experience has contributing. But in that process, what I learned was like I said, the pain that's going out there, the help that's needed, but the difficulty it is to see, because the first thing when you work with homeless, people will say they're lazy. Okay. You work with drug addiction, they say, oh, they just don't want the help. You work with people with mental illness, oh, all they need to do is just get over it, okay? Because this is how a society that we live on. We're not a society that's open and welcome to say anything. Yesterday I went to a group, and there was a group of ladies, and there was this 91-year-old lady, and she said, sometimes I get depressed, And as soon as she said that, everybody jumped on her. No, but you did that, and no, you know. So this is why we don't heal.
Yeah,
Because right away we shut them up. Why do we do that? Okay, maybe it's because we feel bad and we
well, you
want to
know,
fix her.
then there's the people that say your words are spells.
Right, but it's
So if you're saying it,
okay.
you're
The question is not that. The question is how often are you saying that? See, because if you're going to deny your emotions, because if you have that perspective and it's locked in like that, that's pretty closed. Because that's saying that I'm never going to be able to say what I'm feeling. I'm never going to be able to feel real. Okay, when you're hungry, so what do you say? Don't be hungry. Don't be hungry. Do you say that? No, you go eat because you're hungry. Why do we do that with feelings? Why all of a sudden with feelings? Don't feel angry. Don't feel depressed. Don't feel. See, the Bible says, "Be angry, but sin not." Be angry, but sin not. Okay, forgive. Meaning that there's going to be moments of unforgiveness. How many times do you have to forgive? The Bible says, yes. How so a man thinketh, so is he. But what it's referring to is what's coming out of your mouth. If I lived with you 1 week and we counted what came out of your mouth in that week that was healthy, that was positive, that's when you can measure what you're saying, the negativity. But if you're just talking about somebody saying, I feel sad, or if I feel this way, let me try to help them by walking with them. What are you feeling? Maybe right now I just need you to hold my hand. Maybe right now I just need you to pray for me, understand me, be empathetic. This is how I learned how to deal with people's pain. See, I've never been in a drug addiction in my whole life, but I had friends, and the clients showed me what their role was like and how tough it was. So I removed my lens and I went through it with them, and I was able to see their pain. I did that with all the people that I work with. So I became more empathetic. And in that process, I realized, right, in my empathy, I started to realize, man, I'm sick too. I got issues.
There was healing that needed to be done.
Because my story didn't look like theirs, but my pain did. My loss did. My grief did. My anger did. My sadness did.
So you had to work through those.
So and that's where I started to learn. So this is where we're going back to our healing. So as a Christian myself, being in the church community, knowing what faith is. See, the thing is that we're so we can't be authentic. See, being healthy doesn't mean you're denying your emotions.
Right.
It's how long do you stay in those emotions?
Right.
Because you have to process out of them.
That's why I love like people that are very successful that obviously have had to work on themselves to be able to move forward, in life.
Yes.
Say it's okay to be angry, it's okay to go through your feelings, but do it for an hour, do it for 2 hours, and move on.
Or
do it for a day
do
or
it
whatever.
until you
Yeah.
get past it.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling a certain way and I already know this is my hard point, then this is where you develop the tools to say, okay, I'll pick up a phone and say, I am feeling right now so upset because this person blah 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 blah. Okay, and then I go over here. I already work with you. Can you pray for me? Because I just got through hating on somebody, and I don't want to stay there. Now, can you pray with me? So I'm going to pray with you. Okay, so now let me read the book. Let me go watch something funny right now. See, so I'm saturating my brain because now I'm working. And guess what? The body and mind connection, spirit, mind, and body connection. I go saturate myself with the Word of God. I go believe and remember all the promises that He has for me, everything He's promised for me. And you know what? For a moment, I forget that God is greater than my problem. But if I never reach to that, if I never go to you, see, that's intentional. That's the muscle you got to work. You have to work that. Just like, I'm gonna diet. I ate a pie. I gotta run another mile. Blah blah blah. Right? But we don't do that with our mind.
Right.
And that's what mental wellness is about. It's like a spiritual muscle. It's like an emotional muscle. So the more you learn how to work it, the same way you're able to detect, oh, that's got fiber, oh, that's got this, it's got that. See how you process to be able to put into your body healthy things? We got to do the same thing with our minds. Dissect it. What's going on with it? This is not healthy. I got to get this out. No, I can't eat that. No, I can't talk about that. It's like you are responsible to be intentional about your wellness. And when you learn how to do that, then so this is why the art of making healing came. Now,
So you want to talk a little bit more about like why people suffer in silence before because that's what your ministry's focused on right
definitely,
now,
it's trying to. The ministry was focused basically on healing. So healings that happen from family wounds growing up. Okay, so today, you know that you and I are a product of society. We're a product of our culture. We're a product of our surroundings. We're a product of the experiences that we experience. We're powerless over that. We're powerless over our environment. If we're raised poor, we're raised rich, we're raised entitled, however we're raised, we're not responsible. But there comes a time that we become responsible. If the product that we are is not producing healthy results. A lot of people say, I don't know why nobody likes me, but they're angry all the time, they're always saying this, and they're not approachable. Well, but if they're not able to see that, nothing's going to change, right? So if nothing changes, right? So going back to why people don't, is culture is one, right? What do they say? In substance abuse, one says, don't speak, don't talk, don't trust. Why? Don't tell everybody our secrets that dad is beating you up and that he's an alcoholic, or that somebody's being abused, or that I call you dumb, or whatever. Don't tell anybody that your husband treats you bad, or your wife treats the husband bad, or don't tell anybody. Don't talk. Don't trust. Don't trust anybody, right? Because the world is not trusting. It's not trusting. Why? Because I've been wounded by so many people. Why am I going to trust you? You're just like everybody else. Right? So we are a product of that, and then culture says, well, this is this about the woman, this is this about the man, or this is the way you're supposed to look, this is what a woman is, this is the shape of a woman, this is the shape of your hair, this is what, all of these things for a product. Now, this is the thing. How much of that becomes your identity? And is it authentic? Because if it's not authentic, then you become what everybody else wants you to be. And you're practicing that, and you've actually convinced yourself that that's who you are. But then you know what you find? That you're not happy. You find that you're still longing. You're still envying. You're still envying people. You're still wishing that you were this. See, because that's not what God wants. When you start to know who you are, and when I remove the mask, you're going to see the good, you're going to see the bad, you're going to see the ugly. And I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to be okay with that. If I mess up and fall on my face, I'm not going to like it. Like going back to the licenses that we got. I have a license for licensed professional counselor, and I have a licensed chemical dependency counselor. Both licenses I failed twice. You know how? Oh, then going back, I dropped out of 8th grade. I wanted to go to college. When I went to college, I had some negative experiences. I went to college. I had to go a year and a half, take remedial classes before I even took my first college year.
Because you dropped out in 8th grade.
I dropped out in 8th grade.
They needed to reassess you.
I went to college and didn't know what a thesis was. And I remember I said, what's a thesis? And they laughed at me because, no, you're supposed to know what a thesis was. But I went through that, and then I went through the humiliation of everybody passing. I would study with everybody. I studied 10 times harder. And everybody would pass, and I would stay behind.
But you didn't give up.
I did it again. And I didn't give up. Because, see, I knew that I had purpose. I knew what God wanted me to be. Because I built on that. I built on it. Even though it didn't feel good, even though my ego was bruised, even though I was humiliated, even though it was nothing, I learned that, you know what? It made me a better person. Because when I went to college, the lady, I was excited about being in college, the counselor, I was excited and this and that. You know what she told me? She said, stop. If She said, you finished the first semester, we'll talk about the rest.
She didn't want to see you on the first appointment.
No, that's what she told me on the first appointment. Because I was excited about wanting to do this, and so what is it going to look like when I get a degree? And I was excited. But she didn't want to talk further, because to me, she was implying, let's see if you can do this. I mean, she didn't say that, but that was, because why wouldn't she build me? You know, that's
Right,
good that you,
right.
you know, you,
So
you
then
did,
you're excited.
you know, and you failed, you didn't, you came out of the 8th grade, wow, you know, I'm going to be a chief reader. No, but you know, I have an ego too, so when I got my degree, actually, I went back, she still worked there, and I showed her. And I thanked her very much for those words. Because those were the words that did.
Right, you use them to fuel you instead of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, sometimes when you feel the heat, like, oh, okay. But see, this is what I didn't know about myself, that I was resilient, that I was a go-getter, that I would take time. And those are the failures did to me. So God takes everything. God does not waste anything. But sometimes we think, see, and so we don't get past that. So what I started to see, right, that we are body, mind, and spirit. In other words, we are a spiritual being. And we are, but if your mind is not in line with your spirit man, if you don't connect yourself spiritually and see yourself the way God wants to see you, the Bible is, you know, we say, what does God want? We have a book with 66 books in the Bible.
There's a lot of people that have never been introduced.
Or they have, well, no, but there's a lot of external things, maybe self-help books or something else that are positive, right? But biblically speaking, because I am a woman of faith, I know that that's the biggest nurturing you can have. However,
Well, let me ask you, going back to that question about your experience and all the time that you've dealt with all these different people, different characters, different backgrounds. What was your experience? Did they have knowledge of God?
yes,
Did they,
a lot of, you'd be surprised.
Okay.
The majority of people, I would say at least,
Because that's what I think.
no, 95% of the people knew God, believed in a God, they just knew Him differently. Going back to the mind connection. Remember, we are a product of our environment. So if we heard negative things over and over again, we start to believe that. So then, if we say, okay, God loves me, but yet my mind tells me I'm not lovable, because that's what my family told me, it's not going to be in sync.
Your family or your
Right.
husband,
So
ex-husband.
It's
or
not going
whatever
to be in
person.
sync, right? So anytime something good wants to come out, my mind is going to be the one that's going to bring me down. That's what the Bible says, be renewed of your mind. As a man thinketh, so is he. In other words, and that goes back to what you're saying. So if you repeatedly say, I'm nobody, I can't do that, going back to my failures, I had
That's where the
support.
spell takes place.
That's where all of a sudden you're like, well, if that's what you are, then if that's what you're saying you are, and your life reflects that, then that's what you are, and you're to you. So this is why we have generational curses. That's why we have to break cycles. That's why we have to become free. And that's what authenticity does. It sets you free. It sets you free from our own hypocrisy, our own lack of knowledge about our own mask that we have covered. Because it may show it to you in one way, but deep down inside it's not. So when I started to learn to be authentic, I started saying, you know what? You know what my truth is? My truth is, yeah, I'm not good in academia. That's my truth. Now, can I do it? Yes, I can fail, I can go, but that's not my strength.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. If you're not okay with that, I'm sorry, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I have some gifts that you don't have. And I have some gifts that you can't do like me, because I'm an original. There's only one DNA in the whole world. I'm an original. Proof. So scientists prove it scientifically. There's only one of me. So you know what? You can never do what I do, because I do it the way I do. We can say the same thing. That's why so many people that are saying the same thing I'm saying, but nobody can say it like me.
Right. Which brings me to our next question. So, what makes your approach of healing through your ministry of healing different?
I think because my focus is to try to help you to understand the connection and how it all is connected together. And why, when you're comfortable with the connection, so for example, when you start, we already know, let's say it's the mind and body connection. Science has proven over and over again that stress brings your immune system down, affects your heart. Science has already proven that. So anything that's negative around us is literally killing us physically. Science proves that. Okay? So
what do? Get rid of the person?
Well, the person is not the one that needs changing.
It's you.
Yes.
Oh.
Because you want to give the person the amount of power you want to give.
Right.
So that person is not going to change.
Right.
So it's the way you view the world. So this is what the art of healing does. It's going to help you to see, okay, how much of it is about you and how much of it is about them. So when you start looking at when you start aligning your mind with the Word of God, you start looking at working on yourself. Like what I learned about me, like I said, when I started working with all these individuals, I started saying, wow, I'm wounded too, I didn't have a father, I was raised with my grandparents, we were very poor, they were old. I lived with my mother. She tried the best that she could. She was widowed all her life. Mm-hmm. My mother wasn't very affectionate, but she didn't know how to be. See, now I know that she didn't know how to be because I learned to be empathetic. I learned to see her pain. And so a lot of that anger left me. And then I started to see things differently. I started to see that some people are just hurting so much that I'm not going to give them that power anymore, that I'm worth healing more, that my value starts to become greater. Because when my value is big, you become little. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Your words become
small. That's for everyone.
Yes. And that's
you didn't realize who you are.
Right. Everybody else gets minimized. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we don't know how to, but let me go back to the art of healing. Mm-hmm. There's different areas that we could do that really well. But then there's other areas that we don't have that strength. Right. See, this is where we have to get honest about. Like I said, I am vulnerable in that, and I'm okay with that. But I am strong in this area, and I'm okay with that. And what you see from me, I make an effort for you to be me, because you know how what a relief it is to be me, just to be me. Yeah. And not to. But I had to learn this. I mean, and some people say, no, I am. This is the way I am. This is the way I am. Okay. This is the way you are. But let me ask you this. When you're sitting alone at home, that's who you really are. Yeah. The thoughts that you think, the longing that you have, the sadness that you have, when you compare yourself or your self-pity or whatever it is that we have, if that is there in your life, because we all go through emotions, but if you find that being the majority time of your life, then there's something going on. You need to. So the art of healing, this is what we'll be doing, is we'll be working on.
And let me just stop you real quick. So I'm actually doing the hosting and I'm doing the podcast recording. So at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna go ahead for the last 2 minutes, place the flyer that has a QR code to the event that Sylvia's gonna talk about right now. Go ahead, sorry.
So I thought, going back, so I didn't know that the Art of Healing had been born in 2012. I had my first flyer.
Oh, wow.
So it's been that long that it's been born inside of me, but I've been working. I've always worked, and then I wanted to semi-retire, go part-time. It didn't work, and God just pulled me out. I said, okay, so I'm going to go full-time in ministry. I'm going to go take everything that I've learned, connect it spiritually, and bring it to individuals and help them to learn what I learned. And because I've been exposed to so many people, that's helpful to allow me to incorporate so many different things.
Yes.
So in we're getting ready to have a podcast as well. God has placed. I'm excited about that.
Do you know the date yet?
No, we're going to launch it out. In that, we're going to have monthly conversations. If we're going to do that month, like right now, we're doing unmasking the mask of being your authentic, God-given identity, unmasking the masterpiece. Okay. Because we want to do that. We're the masterpiece. Mm-hmm. But we have to unmask it, right? First, with all the things that are keeping us from being all we can be. Mm-hmm. Every month, our first podcast is going to continue, right? We're going to talk about it in more depth. We're going to have the workshop, and it'll be fully conversing about those kinds of things.
Somebody said, let's see, Shavante Shepard said, great perspective. And my daughter says, hi, Mom.
Yes, she's our host. She's the host of our podcast. So she's
Oh,
watching
okay,
me tonight.
okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna tell you, Sylvia, we need to work on
Yeah,
this.
she's gonna tell me. And that's okay, because
Uh-huh.
this is what we're saying, because this
Right.
is new to me.
Right.
This is a foreign thing to me. Believe me,
And
I
you know
did
what
not
it all
want it.
is, but we have to take that step and leap of faith and just do it. That's why I'm here, because I mean, I did this podcast over 2 years ago, and you know how well it did, and
Yeah.
how much the ladies liked it, and so I said, you know what, we share perspectives here that maybe people need to hear, or that I know people need to hear, and why not? You know, if it's gonna help one person grow, let's
Exactly.
do it.
And so God has finally, that was birthed in 2012. I don't even know if I have one sooner, but I know I found that one. I couldn't believe it had been that long. It had been something I'd been putting on a shelf.
Mhm.
And about maybe before the end of the last year, I was sitting here, everything was just not going in place. I sat here and I said, God, I'm ready to put everything on the shelf because nothing's moving. I've already gone and offered counseling everywhere. I already went and offered my services everywhere. No doors have been open. I said, okay, so I'm ready to just put the ministry on a shelf, retire, sit here, twiddle my thumbs, be with my husband, you know, and just grandmommy, and that's it. And I had a dark season. I felt depressed, and I was like, Lord, I don't know. Physically, things started happening, and
That's
I went through a
normal,
season.
Brenda.
I went
That
through a
brings us
season.
down
Yeah,
to
I went through that season. But remember, it's a
It's
season.
normal.
But it's a season.
Yeah, it's a season.
Seasons come and they go.
Seasons go.
So, but that's when you're healthy. You know, they go there. So, and then I teach at a theological class, San Fran Theology College, and normally I have students every semester, and I try to teach them different things, and I have a group of students. Well, this semester I had only one individual, which is Javante.
Okay.
And we talked, and we were just talking, and we ended up talking, and they had already initiated a podcast. She has a best friend that our producer, and they had been, you know, for so long friends. And they had the same qualities I have: long-term friendship, values, trust, commitment, pure heart, authentic, transparent, you know, strong women, everything that I am. And you got to put them together. I mean, and I tell you, and they don't even, we don't even live in the same. They don't live in San Antonio.
In the same state.
You know me. I'm not just somebody to trust anybody, right? Okay. I trusted them with everything.
Oh wow.
See, that's what she knows me, Shavante. She knows me. So she knows that has to be the Lord. And you know what? And so then they came.
Feel it when it is.
Oh my God. They have come and become. So they were the ones that the Lord said, I got, and talk about the platform. You guys don't even know what's coming.
So that's coming, guys. So, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and put that flyer at the end of the podcast for a few minutes. Probably, you know, so you can get a snapshot, get that QR code, and we're just about out of time here. So let's just finish off by asking you, Sylvia, for someone watching that's basically maybe feeling overwhelmed and anxious, broken. Is there something that you might want to suggest as far as where would they begin? I mean, I know there's hotlines, right?
Well,
What do you think about those?
If we're talking about, this is what I'm saying, if you're talking about a mental health condition, now we're talking about the more serious one, definitely you've got to reach out for help.
Yes.
Because
It's a season. It's not the.
But if you're talking about just going through a season of difficulty and all that, I would suggest that you do go to places or go to people that have the knowledge and have the ability to make you aware. Right. To make you aware, because sometimes we're not aware. Have you ever talked to somebody and then you say like, "Wow, I had never seen it like that." And, wow, this is new. But the only way now, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like, for example, right now with the podcast, Liz McDuffie, she's the producer, and Shavante Shepherd, she's the host. You're going to meet her. You're going to love her, because I fell in love with her immediately.
I look forward.
You know, and so it's going to be weekly.
Yeah.
And we're going to have one topic and extended. Like, we're going to talk about mother wounds. It's going to be 4 weeks.
Oh,
and we're going to have somebody, a guest at the end, talk about those wounds or whatever. We're getting really excited. And God has placed them, and so we're ready to go. And we already got like 30 people signed up.
Nice.
I mean, not signed. Well, I got 15 that said they're gonna go. They're not signed up, but Derek
Yeah,
told me that
yeah.
there's something. I didn't expect that. We've only been announcing it a week. So we got,
So get your tickets.
and get going with there.
Well,
because-
Sylvia, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you, like I said, opening up your heart, your doors, and
Yeah,
just
thank
sharing
you.
with everyone for mental health awareness, because it is something that people need to know. No matter who you are, where you come from, what you've been through, your story is important. You are important, and it's only a season.
Amen.
Thank you for
God
watching.
bless y'all.
Bye. Oh, if you didn't watch live and you are going to the